Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a trip back in time to the heart of the Great Depression. It was a time of hardship, struggle, and a whole lot of dust. But amidst the despair, there were also stories of resilience, hope, and unexpected moments of joy. Buckle up, because we're about to dive into 3 short tales from this iconic era. Remember, if you enjoy these stories, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps our channel. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and get ready to be transported back to the Dust Bowl. Let's see how these folks navigate the challenges thrown their way, and maybe even find a flicker of hope in some of the darkest days. First up, we'll meet a family who gets a rude awakening after leaving their windows open for a breath of fresh air before church.
Ma opened the windows wide, letting the uncharacteristically warm April breeze sweep through their ramshackle farmhouse. The sky, a canvas of robin's egg blue, stretched endlessly above the parched fields. It was a rare moment of peace in a time choked by dust and despair. The Great Depression had them by the throat, but this morning, at least, the Dust Bowl seemed to be holding its breath. Pa finished shaving, his weathered face etched with worry lines that deepened with each passing year. 10-year-old Rose, her braids like sun-bleached wheat, helped her little brother Tom scrub the dust off his Sunday shirt. Every Sunday, even if the preacher's words couldn't fill their bellies, they went to church. It was a beacon of hope, a reminder of a life beyond the relentless dust. They piled into the creaking Model T, the worn leather seats whispering of better days. As they drove, the air remained strangely still. At church, hymns rose like a fragile flame, momentarily chasing away the despair etched on the faces lining the pews. But halfway through the sermon, a low rumble rattled the windows. Suddenly, the sky outside turned an angry ochre. By the time the service ended, the world had been swallowed whole. A monstrous dust storm raged, blotting out the sun, turning day into a desolate, howling night. Panic clawed at Rose's throat as they hurried home. The sight that greeted them was a nightmare. Their house, once a flimsy shield against the harsh Oklahoma winds, now looked like a deflated balloon, windows bulging with the weight of the unrelenting dust. Inside, furniture was draped in a thick brown shroud, their meager belongings buried beneath a layer of grit. Pa's shoulders slumped. Ma, her normally bright eyes dull, started coughing, a dry, hacking sound that echoed in the suffocating silence. But even in the face of this devastation, a spark of defiance flickered in Rose's chest. This wasn't the end. They would clean up, they would survive, just like they always had. They had each other, and that, she fiercely believed, was enough to weather any storm, dust or otherwise.
Next, we'll follow a young girl on a bittersweet adventure as she spends the summer with her aunt in the bustling metropolis of New York City.
The dust was always there, a fine, gritty film coating everything: hair, skin, even the whites of 12-year-old Lily's eyes. It swirled in the endless Oklahoma sky, a constant, choking reminder of the land's betrayal. The once fertile fields were now skeletal plains, the wind whispering tales of lost harvests and empty bellies. Lily's family, like many others, was stretched thin. Every penny went to keeping a roof over their heads and meager food on the table. Her 2 older brothers, strong and wiry despite their age, could still help Pa in the fields. But Lily, being a girl, was deemed less useful. The truth stung, a bitter seed lodged in her throat. One day a letter arrived, its crisp edges a stark contrast to the dust-caked world outside. It was from Aunt Martha, Pa's sister, who lived all the way in New York City. The words on the page blurred through a sudden rush of tears. Aunt Martha was offering for Lily to spend the summer with her. It was a lifeline thrown across the parched plains, a chance for Lily to escape the dust and the gnawing hunger. Saying goodbye was a quiet affair. Pa hugged her tight, his rough hands leaving a comforting scratch on her back. Ma's eyes, usually filled with a quiet despair, held a glimmer of hope. "You come back strong, Lilybird," Ma whispered, her voice husky with unshed tears. "Come back full of stories from that big city." The train journey was a revelation. Lush green fields replaced the endless brown. Buildings reached for the sky instead of the dust devils that danced across the plains. New York City was a sensory assault. Honking cabs, towering buildings that scraped the clouds, and the smell of 1,000 different foods wafting from street vendors. Aunt Martha, a woman with a smile as vibrant as her red lipstick, enveloped Lily in a hug that smelled of lavender and city life. For the first time in months, Lily's stomach wasn't grumbling. Her days were filled with adventures, exploring museums, riding the subway, even taking a boat trip to see the Statue of Liberty. The world beyond the Dust Bowl was vast and exciting. But as the summer sun started to dip lower in the evening sky, a pang of longing tugged at Lily's heart. She missed the star-studded nights unmarred by city lights. She missed the quiet conversations on the porch swing with Ma. She missed feeling useful, even if it meant just fetching water or helping with the mending. When it was time to leave, a mix of emotions swirled within her. Back in Oklahoma, she was greeted with a tearful hug from Ma and a gruff, "Welcome home, Lilybird," from Pa. The farm looked even more desolate after the lushness of New York, but as she unpacked her suitcase, a curious glint caught her eye. Tucked amongst her things was a small silver charm in the shape of an apple. Attached was a note from Aunt Martha. "Remember, Lily, the city may be exciting, but there's magic in your home, too." Life on the farm was still hard, but Lily wasn't the same girl anymore. The grit in her eyes held not just dust, but a spark of newfound determination. She started a small vegetable patch with seeds saved from New York, teaching her brothers her aunt's tricks for growing food in tight spaces. The dust storms might still rage, but Lily, armed with memories of a big city and a heart full of hope, started to bloom like a sunflower reaching for the sun, a tiny beacon of resilience in the midst of the Dust Bowl.
Finally, we'll witness the nail-biting story of a farmer forced to sell his crops, hoping it will be enough to keep his family afloat.
Caleb squinted through the dust haze, the unforgiving sun turning his sweat into a stinging brine. Even with a bandana wrapped around his face, the grit infiltrated his lungs, each cough a rasp that echoed across the barren landscape. Below him, golden waves of wheat shimmered, a testament to his back-breaking labor. This year, at least, the rain had held out, allowing a meager harvest. Reaching the dusty crossroads town, Caleb pulled his dented truck in front of the grain silo. Mr. Jenkins, the weathered elevator owner, greeted him with a curt nod. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken worry, before Jenkins finally named a price. It wasn't much. Not nearly enough for the years of struggle, the calloused hands, the worry lines etched deep on Caleb's face. But it would cover the mortgage, a small victory in a relentless war. Enough for a few new pairs of overalls for the kids, maybe even a dress for Mary, maybe, just maybe, a bag of flour wouldn't have to stretch for another month. As the grain elevator roared to life, Caleb watched the golden flood of his hard work disappear. A pang of guilt stabbed at him, a reminder of the meager pantry back home. But then, a steely resolve hardened his gaze. He had a family to feed, a farm to keep afloat. Heaving a sigh, Caleb headed to the general store. He emerged with paper bags, the clinking of a few coins a bittersweet melody. Back at the truck, he paused, staring out at the endless plains. The land, once fertile, looked skeletal now, ravaged by years of drought and relentless winds. But amidst the devastation, a single, defiant wildflower bloomed, a tiny spark of life in the ashen landscape. It was a small thing, easily overlooked, yet it filled Caleb with a fierce hope. He'd plant again, nurture the fragile earth, coax life from the dust. It was in his blood, this stubborn resilience, this unyielding belief in the land. With a renewed determination, Caleb climbed back into his truck. The journey home was long, the future uncertain. But as he navigated the dust clouds, a single wildflower pinned to his shirt pocket swayed in the breeze. A silent promise whispered on the wind. They would plant again.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for joining us. Remember to come back next time for more interesting and fun short stories.